And I love these guys that we're going to bring out. It's the boys panel. So without any further ado, let's start bringing them out here. We have Mr. Garret Wang. Garret! Next up, we have that cut up himself, Mr. Johnny Ethan Phillips. He's the cowboy and a staple of 1,000 Joe Dante films, the wonderful Robert Picardo. Oh, I feel like I'm in San Francisco. And last but certainly not least, the consummate actor, gentleman, and a lovely guy. Please welcome Mr. Robert Beltran. That's right, Bob.
Commander Chakotay.
Let's give it up for the fabulous gentleman of Voyager.
Hello, hello. Yo. God, I left more people than this in bed.
I've never heard Adam's falsetto before. Was that an amazing experience?
Actually, Bob has an amazing falsetto, right? Isn't Bob? He's amazing.
How did I open my mouth?
Let's hear a little falsetto, Bob.
That's right.
What's the lyric?
When the nights go down.
So let me get a look at you guys here. Damn, they look good, don't they? Wowzers. Nicely done, guys.
Looking pretty good, huh? You just got kicked out of the White House. What?
All right, sit down.
Right, we'll be right back.
Unbelievable. Well, it's our annual get-together, gentlemen, and awesome seeing all of you again. I guess it begs the first question, how the hell are you and what have you been up to? So, anybody, tell me.
Oh my gosh.
I'm still about 5'6".
A year's gone by, and how's life?
Yeah, life is good. Just doing a lot of traveling, you know, doing the shows, doing the conventions.
Where?
Everywhere, all over the place.
All over the
Garret,
world.
you had a big life event happen to you recently. Do you want to talk about that at all?
No.
No.
We're not gonna talk about that. We'll pass it over to Bob. Bob, what are you doing?
All right, we'll get back to him later about the big life event. I am excited. I am going to the Edinburgh Theatre Festival in Scotland to do a new play. I'm working with another no-name doctor from another franchise, Sylvester McCoy. So it's going to be two doctors and one other actor who's not a doctor in a play called A Joke. So I'm very excited. I've always wanted to play the Edinburgh Theatre Festival. It's if you're an actor, it's supposed to be the best time you've ever had.
Yeah, that's great.
And going to Europe is kind of like a little bit of a burden, don't you think, getting from LA and being over there and Scotland and all that, but...
Well, here's the burden. In the play, which is an original play, I play a character called the Scotsman. And I'm playing it to a Scottish audience. Does that sound like a smart move on my part? I don't think so. But I do have to do a Scottish accent, but I'm an American of Scottish descent. So my Scottish accent is supposed to be intentionally terrible. So that's why I signed on. I'll do my terrible accent later in the show.
Robert Picardo.
Great God, man. I've been touring with Journey.
Nice.
My falsetto was in pretty
You're the
good shape.
Filipino guy.
It's my makeup. My falsetto is...
You're in Glenn's chair.
How's family life, man? You got a baby of cute kids. kids? How are your kids? How's your family?
My family's doing well, thank you. They're in
Beautiful.
Germany. They're vacationing in Germany. I couldn't go. Also, I've been a visiting professor at UCLA. I finished my winter quarter there. I'll never teach again because the kids are spoiled and entitled and never again.
Robert, tell them what you teach. What do you teach?
Well, I teach acting, Shakespeare, that sort of thing. And plumbing.
Not a positive experience?
I'm sorry?
Seriously, it's not a positive, hasn't been a positive experience?
No, just this last quarter was filled with a bunch of spoiled. I hope they watch this. I mean, the grade I gave them probably didn't endear them to, so I've been doing that, and then I'm directing a play, and then I'm going to be in England myself, but next year.
What are you doing?
I'm doing the Royal York Theater. I'm doing Macbeth. They're asking me to do Macbeth.
Oh my God.
No. But that's not till next year.
Is that the Stratford on Avon?
No. That's the York Theatre Royal is a rep theater, a rep company
In London or?
in York.
In York. Wow.
Yeah, I think so.
You know, England is Great Britain is a remarkable place to perform. It's got, a great tradition of that. The country's got that amazing vibe that you just sort of don't have here in the U.S.
Have you ever done a play in Britain before?
No, I haven't.
Nor have I. I'm very
Exciting.
excited.
I'll come and see you.
Oh, all right.
It's a teabag sucking country.
All right, so Johnny, Ethan, Phillips down there.
What's up, Adam? How you doing, brother?
I'm great, brother. You look great, and
You look good. You never age.
tell me what happened to you the other day. I heard something strange happened.
What? Oh, you. What?
That was a setup for a joke, John.
Oh, you mean the thing that happened at the Flamingo?
Yeah.
The guy.
That thing.
The guy. Some guy got really drunk, and I was over there in the lobby when he was up in his room. He was like on the 17th floor, and he. I guess he was really messed up, and he broke the window in his room and threw out a 6-pack.
Oh, wow.
And it hit a guy on the street.
Oh my God.
It didn't hurt him. It was light beer. I know. I told you I'd tell it.
Don't feel bad. He steals from everyone.
All great artists steal. Watch Michael Caine's video about film. He says steal from the best. Right? Make it your own. It becomes your own. So anyway.
Ethan looks like me if you leave me in the dryer for an extra 10 minutes.
What have I been up to? When I come back from here, I start a movie with Richard Thomas called The Price of Silence, and then I'm going to be in my 4th Broadway play at Lincoln Center.
Yes. What is it?
It's called Junk. It's about Michael Milken. It's written by Ayad Akhtar, who wrote Disgraced. He's a wonderful, wonderful playwright. He got the Pulitzer Prize for Disgraced. And it's a huge cast. It's at the Vivian Beaumont, and it's a wonderful play.
Wow. How long is that?
It goes to early January, and then if it's a hit, it will move to another theater maybe.
It's exciting.
Very excited. I can't wait to do it. Broadway.
You get stage fright at all from something like that? I mean, it's kind of.
As I get older, and I don't know if you guys will all tell you this, but I get more nervous going on as I'm an older actor than I did when I was young. When I was young, I just felt I had the world by the balls, and I could go out there and I knew what I was doing. And now I second guess a lot of my choices, and I'm more self-critical, and I'm worried about lines. So I've got to really, really hunker down and get into a relaxed state, or I freak out a little bit more.
Can you guys understand what he's saying? Okay. That's all I hear is.
I think the truth is that as you mature, you get more conscientious, and the consequence of being conscientious is that you're more challenged.
Well, you don't buy your bull anymore. You don't. You used to. I don't buy anything I do. I say, is that real? Does that? I constantly am going. how can I make this better? You know, how can I make this more real? It's like a con game when you act. If you don't believe it, you guys ain't gonna believe it. So I'm kind of trying to hypnotize myself into believing what I'm doing, so it'll come off like it's real. I'm all playing these games with me all the time. This urge to pretend in public. What the hell is it? You know? And I'm constantly looking at it, and I become more existential about it. It's very weird. I don't know. You teach it. I mean, how can you even teach it? What is it? What is this thing? We use ourselves. We have to use ourselves. If I don't use myself, then I'm acting, and I don't want to be acting. You know? I don't want to be. I got to use myself because then I'm not acting. So if the guy has an accent or a limp, that's fine. I can do that, but I'm still going to be myself. It's going to come through every role I do. Hopefully, the real, authentic me. You know? And I don't know if I can do that all the time, and I get a little nervous about that. Am I making sense?
Yes. Yeah, you're making sense. With my students, I keep it short. I have 2 notes. One is, you suck. The other one is, you don't suck.
It's like there's no such thing as bad actors. There are actors and non-actors. And if you're an actor, that's what you do, and you have to do it. You can't help yourself. You know? You don't give a shit. You just keep going and going and going. You're going to do it because you have to do it.
I was watching Frederick March and Spencer Tracy in Inherit the Wind. Have you ever seen this film? That was like the American film acting. That was like, you can't get any better than that. It's just really, if you guys get a chance to see that, Frederick March is incredible, and so is Tracy.
I remember I was watching The Heiress. Do you know the movie The Heiress?
Yeah, Montgomery Clift and
Montgomery Clift.
Olivia de Havilland.
And Olivia de Havilland, and there's a scene where Monty Clift is acting with Ralph Richardson.
Yeah.
And Ralph Richardson comes from this very British kind of presentational acting, you know, but he's brilliant. And Clift is very method and very in. And you can watch in the scene, there are 2 styles like butting up against each other. They're both brilliant, but it's fascinating to see the different kinds of ways acting has evolved, you know.
It's a great film.
This is going to be interesting. How many of you are first time here to the convention? Raise your hands. Wow. That's a lot of people. So this begs the point I want to make is that a lot of them haven't met you guys before in person. And I always love to hear the stories about how you guys got cast, because this is a fairly difficult and often cutthroat process. So each of you guys, give us your story on getting cast on Voyager, because some of these stories are pretty wild. So in no particular order. Garret?
Let's start down there.
Okay, I got a call from my agent saying that they're doing a new series on Star Trek, and would you come in and audition for the Doctor? So I said, okay, and then they called back and said, no, they decided they want you to audition for Neelix. So I said, okay, what is Neelix? He said, he's an android. So I didn't know what that was, but I figured it was a guy who had like an oid or something hanging off his chin. And I went in and I read for a woman named, No, not Van Dutton. She was casting in LA. The woman was Bonnie Finnegan in New York. And they put me on tape, and they sent the tape off to Los Angeles. And then a week later, they called and they said, they want you to read for the Doctor now. And I went and I read for Bob's part. And they put it on tape, and they sent it off to LA, and then I didn't hear anything for 2 months. And I totally forgot about it. And then they called and said, they want you to fly to LA and read for the network and the studio and the producers. So I flew out there, and I read for them. And there were 40 guys in the room, one of whom was Rick Colby.
You were still reading for the Doctor?
No, for Neelix.
Oh, now you're reading for Neelix.
And Rick Colby, the guy who directed the pilot, he was in the room. Everybody was very stern looking. They're all like, except for Rick, who was in the back. He was the director of the pilot. He was smiling. So I was going to do it to this guy. So I did it for him, and I went out, and then I didn't hear anything for like 3 weeks. And then I was standing on the northeast corner of Washington Square Park on a payphone calling my agent to find out if anything was going on. And he said, I said, did you hear anything from Star Trek? He said, no, we haven't heard a thing. He said, hang on, Ethan, I got a call. I waited, he came back on the phone, you just got the part. Jesus.
Sweet. That is crazy though, how sometimes you go in reading for one character and all of a sudden you're another character.
Bob read for Neelix.
Well, I actually was asked to read for the Doctor, and I was doing a play at the Mark Taper Forum, which is a great theater venue in LA that I'd always wanted to work at, and we were in Tech Week. So I had like the longest days when you're teching the show, setting the lights and the sound cues. I had 2 12-hour days in a row, and my agent sent me the Star Trek script. It was thick, I didn't have time to read it. I read the audition scene. It was for a character called the Doctor, and it said, a computer program of a doctor, colorless, humorless. Now, does that sound like a bucket of fun to you? So I threw the script on the floor and I said to my then wife, they're never going to put me in a Star Trek series. Meanwhile, I get a phone call from my old friend, and she's here at this convention. Megan Gallagher was on China Beach with me. Megan and I were very good friends, and I said, oh, my show, I think she called about my play at the Taper because she wanted to come see it. I said, my agent gave me the Star Trek script, and they want me to audition for this doctor character. I don't have time to read it. She said, oh, you must read it. I think she was reading for Janeway, but was on the young side and didn't get it, but she said, you have to read it. I said, this doctor part looks like a real bore. And she said, well, why don't you read for this other part called Neelix? It's very funny. So I read the script and I go, this is the part for me. So I call my agent and I say, I don't want to read for this doctor character, I want to read for Neelix. So I go in and I read for Neelix, and I'm very successful reading for Neelix. I did things you're never supposed to do at an audition, ever. I used props. I remember, do you remember the old Charlie Brown cartoons? In Pigpen would have a cloud of dust around him all the time. I took some baby powder, my kids were young, and I loaded a handkerchief with baby powder. So when Neelix first steps onto Voyager and he's trying to spruce himself up, in dusting myself off, I raised a cloud of dirt. It's a very cheap joke. They loved it. So they asked me to test for the part. Now, I had done a lot of makeup roles as a young man, and I did not want to be buried in makeup. So I was scared to begin with, but I decided to go in. I read for the part. It went, I'm sorry, I went back, I did the test, and my agent called and said, you didn't get it. And I said, it's okay, it's probably just as well. I'd be in makeup all those hours. And he said, but they want you to come back and read for the doctor. There's something about your voice. And I said to my agent, I'm sorry, I don't get the joke. But I'll look at it again. So I read it, and I just decided to go in and do it. So I read I knew that I'd been told they'd seen 900 actors, and they wanted someone to be funny, and there were literally 7 or 8 lines, and I didn't think it was funny. But I have a very sourpuss face when I want to, as you know. So I read it, and I thought I'm going to make a joke at the end. So after the last scripted line, where the doctor says, I believe someone has failed to terminate my program, I took a long look at everyone watching me audition, and I said, I'm a doctor, not a nightlight. You guys are way smarter than me. I didn't even realize I was ripping off DeForest Kelley. I was so ignorant. I just thought I'd made up a joke. But I had tapped into the mother lode. And I got hired that afternoon.
Well, I auditioned for the doctor too. And I went and I said, look, I don't think I'm right for this role. And they said, well, we want to hear you. And I said, okay. And so I had been working on it. So I had a line, I think it was, please state the nature of the medical emergency. And I did it like this. Please state the nature of the medical emergency. And they said, that's great. I said, yeah, but I don't want to play the doctor, but it should be done like that. And they said, well, would you read for Chakotay? And I said, yeah, okay. No, but so I read for Chakotay. It was one of the easiest auditions I've ever had in my life. I mean, it was like so easy. I come back from the 3rd one with the network. I'm driving back home. I get home. The phone's ringing. I answer it. My agent says, you got the job. It was amazing. Just
Wow. Nice.
That was quick.
Actors don't usually ace things that easily.
No, it's crazy. Yeah, I walked in on my first audition, and I had just finished a callback audition for a movie called Glory Days, which was about Rich Wilkes, the writer's life at UC Santa Cruz with his buddies. They all lived in a house. These are college boys. The movie went on to be produced without me because when I got Voyager, I had to drop out of the movie. But in the film was, in this movie that I dropped out of, was Ben Affleck was the lead. Brendan Fraser was in it. French Stewart from Third Rock from the Sun. My character, an unknown Matt Damon was in it as an extra. It was crazy. But I had just finished that callback audition. I got to Paramount Studios to read for Voyager. And I get a page before I walk into my audition, and I call my agent, and they go, "You booked the film." I'm like, "Oh my God, that's great." So I walk into my audition with Nan Dutton, and she looks at me, and I start reading the sides of the audition scene with her, and she stops me because I'm looking at the script, and she says, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm auditioning." She goes, "You didn't prepare for this?" I said, "Well, to be honest with you, I prepared for my callback audition for a movie which I just booked." She goes, "What movie?" I said, "Glory Days." Never heard of it. Okay. "You know what? You're so unprepared. I hate you actors. You actors are just, ugh." And she literally berated me for the next, 20 minutes. And she told me a story about, you know who Andy Garcia is? I said, "Yes, the actor Andy Garcia." "Yes, I was the casting director on his first movie. It was called 8 Million Ways to Die. Are you familiar with it?" I said, "Yes, he played a Colombian drug lord." She goes, "That's right. And when he came in on his first audition, do you think he was unprepared like you?" I said, "No, that's right, he was prepared. He memorized everything, and that's what makes him a star and you not." Now at that point, after being verbally berated, I was, I'd had it. And she said, "You know what, get out of my office, go study the sides, memorize them, and come back in 15 minutes and do it the right way." So at that point, I walk outside, and I talk to the casting assistant, and I said, "Your boss is mean." she yelled at me, she hates me, and she goes, "And then what happened?" And then she told me to leave the office and look over the audition and come back later. "Wait, she told you to leave and then come back?" I go, "Yeah." "Oh, she loves you." I go, "No." She goes, "Yeah." I said, "Well, you know what? I'm a little frazzled. I've already done a lot of auditioning today. Why don't you go tell Nan Dutton that I'd like to reschedule my appointment?" And she said, "You want me to do what?" Eyes wide open. I said, "Ask her to reschedule me." "I can't do that." "Why?" "She's gonna kill me and then kill you." I said, "Come on, go ask her." She said, "All right, fine. I'm gonna ask Nan, but you need to do me a favor. You need to leave the office. Go around the corner, there's an alley. There's like a huge trash can over there. Hide behind the trash can. Look at your sides. If she says no, you better be prepared, but just be away from here." I'm like, "Okay." So I go into the alley, and I find this huge garbage dumpster, and I'm behind it, and I'm looking at my audition sides, my script, and then about 10 minutes later, she comes out. She goes, "Garret." I'm like, I'm here. I walk out from behind the dumpster. I go, "What happened?" She goes, "Nan's gonna reschedule you. She really, really loves you. She does that for nobody." I'm like, "Oh my God." So I came back, audition number 2, 3, 4, 5, and now this is how crazy Nan Dutton got. Audition number 5, I'm doing the scene where Kim and Torres are in the bottom of the stairwell, and they are covered in those boils because the caretaker has infected them. They're about to, they're at the end of their life. And Kim has that speech where he says, "I can't believe it, my very first mission, and I'm gonna die." So it's this very stressful scene. And I'm reading this with the casting director before the 5th producers meeting, and as I'm reading this, she goes, "Stop, what are you doing?" I'm like, I'm doing the scene." She goes, "You're supposed to be dying in this scene. Do you know what pain is? Do you know how to experience, do you want pain? Have you experienced pain in your life?" I said, "Well, come over here." I'm like, "Well, what?" I walk around the table, she goes, roll up your sleeve right now." I roll my sleeve up, and she takes both of her hands, grabs my wrist, my forearm, and twists in opposite directions, like the Indian burn thing, like that. She goes, "Does that hurt?" "Yeah." "Do you feel pain?" "Yeah." "Well, then do the scene now." So then now she's still rubbing my arms, and I'm going, "I can't believe that. It's my very first mission. And I'm gonna die." Now that's pain. So after that audition, I come out, and it was between me and one kid from New York City. And I asked the casting assistant, Libby, I go, "Libby, what's up?" And she goes, "They're sending the kid from New York back to New York. I go, so I got the role? Like, no. They're gonna actually take 2.5 weeks and look for older Ensign Kims. They're gonna audition 30-something-year-old Ensign Kims, whittle it down to one dude, and you'll go up against him. I'm like, oh my God. So my whole process was 2.5 months to get Ensign Kim. These guys, in and out, right? For me, 2.5 months. They brought it down to one other guy who was 34 years old, and it was me. I was 20, 22, 23. And we went in together, we auditioned, and I came out alive, thank God. So.
But you made it. Okay.
I made it.
So you all got cast, fantastic. You're on the show, and other than that very initial hiccup with Genevieve Bujold, now you've got your wonderful captain, Captain Janeway. It's Kate Mulgrew. She's amazing. And now you're working together for a few months, and so now the ensemble is getting to know each other. Okay. And so, what are your early instincts about the other members of your ensemble, and then how did that change over the course of time?
Well, I just want to say, when I first met Tuvok, I walked up to him, Tim Russ, and I said, hey, your character's name's Tuvok. If you change one letter, you could be Tupac, the rapper. And he looks at me, and Tim Russ in real life is a Vulcan, by the way. He looks at me, he's like, rap music. Rap music is a reason for the fall of modern Western civilization. That was Tim Russ's response to me when I first met him. And I looked at him and I said, you are a Vulcan in real life. Goodbye. So, anyway.
He never listened to Biggie Smalls, that was his problem.
My character was such a windbag early on in the show that none of the other, I had no kind of relationship with any of the other crew members the first season, except for with Jennifer Lean. And Jennifer was so young. Jennifer was 19 years old. You were kind of all fooled by the fact that she had sort of a husky voice and all that, but she was really a kid, really a young kid. And Jennifer was incredibly quiet on the set, am I right? Did you ever get a word out of her that was not a line of dialogue?
An introvert.
Yeah, you would say, hello, Jennifer, and she'd go, like nod or something, and she never spoke. But we had a great friendship in those characters. I don't remember us ever talking, ever, about, beyond that, yeah, about what to do or choices to make. The moment the cameras rolled, she was amazing. She was, you know, but then there was that one creepy episode at the end of the first season called Projections, where she had to kiss me, or I had to kiss her. Now I'm like a 41-year-old guy, and she's 19 years old. She's like, and I have daughters that are not that much younger than her, and I thought that was creepy. I didn't like that, but I got over it. Then I want to flash ahead, so then a year or two later, Jennifer leaves the cast, and we have Jerry Ryan come on, and I suddenly had scenes with, with Jerry, and I was afraid, because Jerry was so extraordinary looking, that I made up my mind that I didn't want to get caught staring at her on the set. So whenever we had a scene together, whenever they were setting lights or we hadn't rolled yet, I would turn my back on her. In other words, we're talking like this, and then as soon as we were getting ready or they're doing makeup touches, I would turn away from her because I didn't want to get caught looking at her butt. You know, if she turned around and I was staring at her. And this went on for like 3 or 4 months, and she thought I think that I was really being rude or unfriendly to her, until I finally told her the reason, and then she pinched me on the ass and everything was great. After that, she would come into work every day for like the next few weeks and give me a little pinch on the butt because I had been afraid to get caught staring at hers, and life just got a lot better.
Well, I think that we gelled pretty well, almost as soon as we settled on a captain. I know that Johnny was always funny right from the get-go, so was Bob and Garret. But I was trying to, slip in some jokes there, but nobody would ever laugh. I would try to make Johnny laugh. I don't think you remember this, but I would say, hi, in the morning. I'd say, hi, I'm Boutros Ghali. But you can call me Boutros Ghali. And he was just like, okay. But one time, it was a long night during the caretaker, the pilot, and I was like, look, the caretaker, what? Let's just kill the son of a bitch in my mind and say, let's just kill him. But I didn't say it until I was around Johnny, and I said, hey, why we don't just kill the caretaker? Why we don't just kill him? And Johnny was like, but like a couple of hours later, I'm like at the craft table and craft service table, and Johnny's talking to some people, and then he just came out of his mouth. He didn't know I was there. He said, why we just don't kill the caretaker? I said, okay, all right, I got him.
Beltran, everybody on that show was very funny. Beltran made me laugh the most because he would do all these imitations, and he's a brilliant mimic. And he would do weird guys like you've never heard of, like Bob Dole. I mean, you've heard of him, but nobody ever did Bob Dole. Beltran did Bob Dole. He did all these, and then I would imitate him doing in the Neelix makeup, and it would look really deranged. Robert, Picardo and I have known each other for years. We knew each other from our theater days in New York in the 70s. So he and I just we knew each other, so we were friends right away. But it was, it's interesting. I'm up here, and how many people are out there, do you think, right now? 2,000? 3,000. I feel extraordinarily comfortable in front of you guys, and I'm just being myself. And it makes me think when I'm on stage, why can't I be this comfortable? Ultimately, I do get to be that comfortable after several weeks. But why can't from the get-go I feel like myself? Because that's what
You feel exposed on stage, and you're doing a show called Junk.
Yeah. Well, it has nothing to do with anything. But you know what I'm saying? You know how we use ourselves in acting, so I should feel this relaxed, and I ultimately get there. But it's funny how we can sit in front of 3,000 people. You guys are all very comfortable, right? Anyway, that's just an observation. I'm thinking, why can't I feel this comfortable on stage? It looks like I'm comfortable on stage, but I'm acting that I'm comfortable. I knew that we were going to have fun on that set. It was shortly into The Caretaker, and Robbie McNeil had a line, Neelix, will you hand me the pad? Now, in the script, the pad was spelled P-A-D-D. And we're shooting the scene, and Robbie says, Neelix, can you hand me the pad? And I look at him, and he's got this little glint in his eye. And I think, well, this guy wants to have fun.
Yeah.
I knew Bob Picardo loves to have fun, and I know Garret had a sense of humor, and Beltran was already making me laugh.
Yeah.
And, you know, the next thing I knew, we were just having a blast. And we did for 7 years. We bonded like I've never been in a cast that bonded like that.
Did you guys having so much fun get in the way of Kate's process at all, or what was her take on all of that?
Oh, she'd get pissed off when we were joking around so much. She'd like, come on guys, let's do this. Let's be serious. Let's get it. She would get a little upset, you know, with us. She was so ultimately prepared. But I just want to share one quick story about Neelix. Neelix, sometimes I forget people's real names. Ethan Phillips. We were filming out at Bronson Caves, and it was a very, very hot day, and it was outdoors, and the sun was beating down, and all of us were there. And, you know, typical actor fashion, we started kind of talking like divas. We were like, oh, it's so hot. We need an umbrella, more water. Does someone have a fan? I mean, all of us were complaining. After about half an hour, 45 minutes of all the actors complaining, Ethan Phillips loses it. He's like, shut up! Shut up! Shut up! All of you human characters, none of you is wearing a mattress on top of your head. Because he had like 5 inches of foam latex on top of his head. We were hot, but he was boiling underneath that. And it's funny because when Ethan gets very passionate and he starts yelling or speaking, you know, extra loud, his fake teeth fly out of his mouth. So his whole thing happened, his teeth just go 5 feet forward. And that was was our lesson in perspective, okay? You may think you have it bad, but there's someone else who has it way worse than you.
You know, it's true. He deserves incredible credit to be in the makeup chair every day, approximately 4 hours. The amount of time he's going in, the amount of time he's going out. And I think I'm the only other guy in the cast prior to Star Trek who'd been through that before.
Yeah.
If you want to know what it feels like to be in his makeup, or let's put it this way, what it sounds like, put your hands firmly over your ears and then keep them there for 16 hours. And that's what it sounds like to be inside Neelix's head. Because it's called a helmet head makeup. And you can't hear yourself. And what ultimately drove me mad was not just the discomfort and the heat, but it was the limit in your hearing. You never heard your own voice the way it really sounds, and you certainly never heard your other actors the way they sound. And it's absolutely maddening after hours, and he put up with it for about 6,000 hours, so let's give him a hand.
Okay, time is getting away from us. We've got questions from the audience. I just have two more things for you guys. First of all, your takeaway from the series, all right? The series wraps. Regrets about, how your characters worked out or about the show itself? I mean, what was your takeaway from it?
My only regret was I kept telling the writers, I said, you got to allow the human characters to have more sense of humor. Because all the actors on our show are supremely funny individuals in their own right. And I kept telling them, if you look at the original series, everyone looks forward to watching Kirk, Spock, Bones. Everybody kind of like ribs each other at the end of each episode. And I felt that, Chakotay and Paris and Kim, we really, and Janeway too, we didn't really get that opportunity to really be funny. It seemed like,
Maybe just a little bit on the holodeck.
Yeah, maybe on the holodeck stuff.
That was about it, though.
Yeah, but for the majority, Bob, you got very lucky because Bob was able to become the comedic breakout of the show, and Neelix to some extent also was the comedic, pressure valve there. But the rest of us, I really wish we had a little more chance to be more comedic. Yeah.
I was very lucky, obviously, to have, when you start with nothing, the character started, as I told you, colorless, humorless, a computer program. When I got cast in the role, I told all my friends, I'm in the new Star Trek series, it'll be a great job, it'll run 7 years, it'll put my children through college, but I have the worst part in the show. I told everyone that, because I deeply believed it. And it wasn't until I didn't even understand. I faked my way through the pilot. I didn't get what I was supposed to be. And then in the first episode, when Kes comes down to sickbay and she wants to make a hydroponic garden, and she asks for dirt, and the doctor complains that he has all this incredible programmed knowledge, but yes, let me get your dirt. Or something like that. When I realized that he was, the source of his bad humor was that he felt disrespected and that he wasn't accorded, then suddenly it started to click in me. And what was the most fun about playing the part is I got to overact shamelessly, whereas these guys had to play, human characters. I could go way over the top and overact, and then I could underplay later. So what was fun is that the character didn't have to behave like a regular Starfleet character, and that was liberating and just plain lucky. However, if everybody is doing that, then there would be no such thing as as how the Starfleet character behaves. So I realized I was very lucky to have that liberty because the character was a new technology and he didn't really work the way he was supposed to.
Robert?
I don't have any regrets, honestly. But going back to Bob, I made sure that Chakotay knew that he was pixels. He was not a real person, and it was like, who are you to have this attitude? And so, whenever I had a scene with him as Chakotay, I would just go look at him like, Captain, turn this asshole off. But, no, I don't have, I'm sorry. I don't have any regrets. I had a great time, had made great friends. We had great camaraderie during the show. And maybe if they had started the Chakotay 7 of 9,
No, it should have been Kim in 7 of 9. And then it went to the doctor at 7 or 9. Okay, so she's gonna have a relationship with Microsoft Windows, right? Okay. It goes to Chakotay, who should have been with Janeway. Hello? What's come on? Kim and 7. God.
I think Kim and Neelix. Think about it. It's unexpected.
I do like Neelix.
I agree with Robert Beltran. I don't have any regrets. The luckiest man in the world is an actor who gets paid for it. And, you know, we had one job, and that was to ask the question, why am I still in the room? And when you can figure that out and you get somebody to pay you to do that, it's a fantastic thing. And I totally enjoyed it. And I don't regret anything, but I would never do it again.
We're going to throw it out to the audience. One last thing. Your world-class imitations, please. We're begging you. Give us a few, guys, please. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, John? Me? Oh, each of us do one?
Each of you, any of you guys, if you got one, give it to us.
One
Come
guy,
on.
it's Johnny Carson, and I'll do him. Does anybody remember him? This is a nice shot. This is actually a lot of fun. And now I did not know this. Apparently, this is actually kind of strange. Terry Garr is with us, so stick around. This should be a lot of fun. And Angie Dickinson is coming in. My next guest is Ensign Kim. This is funny stuff. That's a wonderful tie. I couldn't guess your weight, huh?
Well, I'm working on this one, okay? A lot of times I don't get a chance to see these guys, right? So I have conversations with them when I'm showering or when it's like, hey, Garret, or I'm like, hey, Bob, or I'm like, hey, Johnny. So one time I was talking to Johnny as Jimmy Stewart. And I was like, say, John, this character Neelix, John, what is a Neelix? How are you, John? I don't get it, John.
That is funny stuff. That is wild.
I don't do impressions very well. My best impression is someone you've probably never heard of unless you're over 50. Well, Morty is an impression of somebody no one's ever met. John, I do this very old Jewish character named Morty, who talks like this.
A belated happy Groundhog's Day to you. I got a call from my son the other day, which is a surprise. He never calls me. I don't know why.
Oh, anyway. All right. My best impression, have you ever seen the MGM movie musical Seven Brides for Seven Brothers? All right, and the lead brother, the oldest brother, is Howard Keel. I do a Howard Keel impression. Here we go. I have to do him with some of the other brothers.
Well, you guys could just get a look at yourselves. You look like a bunch of lovesick bull calves. Now, why don't you do something about it? Why don't you marry him?
Oh, you know they'd never marry us.
Well, then do like the Romans did with the sobbing women. Tell you about them sobbing women who lived in the Roman days.
Does that sound like Howard Keel?
And though they'll be a sobbing for a while, we're gonna make them sobbing women smile.
I love doing impersonations. I grew up with Rich Little as my idol, so I love Rich Little. Janeway? So Janeway, when you do Janeway, you have to think about Katharine Hepburn and Smurf in conjunction.
Status report, Ensign. Mr. Kim, this is Captain Catherine Janeway, the USS Voyager.
But my favorite of all, my go-to, is always going to have to be Mr. George Takei.
Now, to do George's voice, you have to make sure that you have a little bit of nasality going on, like a nose cold. And you have to remember to always smile.
From Voyager, it's tough to do. It was tough to do Chakotay. I was always have a go-to line, and I would say, "Any luck yet, Tuvok?" And that's what and he looks at me like,
I am famous for my Variegoid goulash.
so I would do that. And Bob Picardo, the doctor's favorite line was when he came on the bridge. He got his mobile emitter for the first time, and he was footloose and fancy-free. And Kess was with him on the bridge, and he walks in, and he goes,
Just remember, Kess, anybody can stargaze on the bridge, but the real action happens in sick bay.
Let's hear it for these guys. Come on, give it up. You never disappoint. God bless you guys. All right, you're awesome. Okay, here we go. Off we go. Yep.
Oh, hello. My question is for Robert Beltran. And Mr. Beltran.
Yes.
I know over time you've described, when Voyager could not be at its best. I mean, it's whenever the usual cliches come about, like, Captain, shields are down to 12%. The ship is about to blow up. Or, engineering the bridge. I mean, there's a warp core breach in progress. And then they manage to just get themselves out of it, etc., etc. I was just wondering if there was a member of the Voyager writing staff that was able to overcome, this kind of, usual cliche, and was able to craft the type of stories that you thought were, able to break the cliches that, happened when Voyager was not at its best.
Well, it's interesting that you call it cliche. It's more like it's more like tradition, Star Trek tradition. You have to have the scenes on the bridge, I guess. I always hated them because they took so long. It was long days, and it was always this kind of concocted drama crisis that everybody knew we were going to get out of because we had to be back next week, right? And so I always managed in some of the takes, right before they said cut, I would sneak something into Kate on the side, and I would say something like, "But don't worry about it, Captain, we'll be back next week." What was the question? Oh yeah. So the tradition I felt could have been, it could have been shortened a little bit. Those scenes on the bridge because everybody knew we were going to come back anyway, and the shields never went down to below 12%. So does that answer your question, sir?
Is there a Voyager writer like Kenneth Biller or Jerry Taylor or
I insulted all of them at some point.
That's okay.
Is there something you?
Is there a Voyager writer that you preferred?
I really liked my conversations with Jerry Taylor at the beginning. We talked about Chakotay and where we would like to go with that, and she was great. And I really hated to see her go, and I hated to see Michael Piller go. Those two were really good.
Thank you very much.
All right. Gracias, hermano. Over to here.
Cuidado con la mira.
Okay, Garret, this is for you, my friend. I know you started as ensign over it, and you started as ensign, finished as captain. But you said you answered part of my question. You're a writer now in Star Trek. You went from ensign to captain, but now you tell 7 of 9, why do you need us? I'm just paraphrasing. Finish that sentence, because you were sitting there after playing the Tuvok, and all of a sudden you go out there because you're late, you're not joining 7 of 9, and you say, what do you need the rest of us for? So I'm just saying, in that episode, I'm thinking, what do you think of, what would the writers have done with you in 7 of 9? What did they do?
We would have been married and had kids. We would have had, I mean, it was crazy. I got to kiss 7 of 9 one time, and then she turned into an alien. It was the dream sequence. And that was the only, and then that one time in the mess hall where I tried to lure her there to try to hit on her, and she goes, "Oh, your pupils are dilated." I'm like, "Uh-huh. The lighting here is insufficient." "Uh-huh." And then she goes, "Ensign Kim, do you wish to copulate?" And at that point I answer what the writers answered, "No." And I threw that script onto the floor. And then after that episode aired, no matter where I went in the world, people would see me and went, "Oh." And director said, cut, Jerry Ryan looked at me and went, oh, you lost out. She then turned to the crew and said, any takers? And the sound guy, ooh, me, camera guy, me. So, that was horrible. There should have been a romance that went on and on and on. It just never, ever happened. And you know what I say? If I was the writers, remember Ensign Kim #1 that goes out of the airlock? He dies, Torres is there, and Torres goes, Harry! And I'm gone, right? That Kim should have been alive because a cloaked Borg cube nearby sees Kim being ejected out of that airlock and says, they're throwing their officers away. So they beam me aboard the Borg cube and I'm like, oh, guys, I get the Borg tubules in, I become Borg, and the Borg Queen sends me back to Voyager, the leader of the Borg SEAL team, to recapture 7 of 9. I come on the ship, and I walk on there, Tom Paris gets in my way, boom, I kick him away, Chakotay comes up to me, bam, knock him away, everybody, Tupac, Borg Kim takes them all out, and he comes up, he's about to get 7 of 9, he's reaching out to her, and right before he grabs her, Ensign Kim #2, duplicate Kim, does some type of MacGyver technique, and takes out Borg Kim. At that point, 7 of 9 looks at Kim and goes, I think I love you. And they live happily ever after.
Can I just say, Garret, you've given this entirely too much thought. What if she'd ended up, if the Borg Kim and 7 of 9 had twins, they would be called 6 of 1 and half dozen of another.
Yes.
Hi. Each of you has had success on the theater, probably before and after Voyager. And I'm wondering, is there a role that you wanted in the theater that you may not have gotten and you prepared for, and you wanted to show why you really should have gotten that role?
Well, I wanted to play the Music Man. He's a what? He's a music man. Sells big trombones, and the piccolo. 76 trombones led the big parade with 110 cornets close behind. I never got a chance to do it. Write to somebody and tell them you want to see me do it.
I always wanted to play Flavius in Timon of Athens, but I've never had the chance.
I wanted to play Nicely in Guys and Dolls.
I wanted to play Short Round in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. I wanted to be able to say, you call him Dr. Jones, doll! Just kidding.
All right, that's great. Thank you. Yes. Here we go.
This is for Garret and Ethan. Garret, can you say, oh my, for me, and Dorothy Kai, oh my?
Of course. Oh my.
And Ethan, how did you act with that makeup on when it was hot and tired? What did you do to motivate yourself? And you all are hilarious, and I love your camaraderie, and I love you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
How did you motivate yourself when you were hot and tired in the makeup and
Paycheck.
Oh my.
That's my job. I get paid for that, and I enjoy it. I'm one of the people in the world that loves what they do. So I was very lucky to be able to do that. And also the energy of my castmates, who were very committed in every scene we did. That runs into you and gives you energy, and it's just a give and take, and it keeps you going.
Thank you. I've been watching you guys for years. I grew up with you guys. Thank you for all the time and energy you spent. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
say that all those years, Johnny never complained once. Never complained. I never heard him complain once. I had to wear some stuff once where I was a Vidian for a while, and I was like, I was in the worst mood. It was like anybody passed by me and said hello. I was like, oh, shut up! Do you see this? I really have to give it to Johnny for not complaining all those years.
Awesome. Next question.
Yeah.
Hi, I'll have to speak slowly because people can't understand my accent, but I was going to ask the three boys about how they prepared for their little relationships with Jerry Ryan, but I think you've all answered that except perhaps Robert with his beautiful dream sequences when Jerry wanted to be feeling her emotions and feeling love. And the second question, very quick one, is what piece of technology that exists in Star Trek would you like to see actually actualized today in reality?
Transporter pad, thank you.
Definitely. I'm not going to say the holodeck. I would like to see the medical tricorder.
Well, I would like to have a tricorder and all that stuff, but I want to play football in the holodeck. I want to quarterback the New York Jets with white shoes.
I would agree with Bob. I'd have to say the medical tricorder.
All of those things. Okay, this is the last one, it looks like, yeah.
Actually, you can probably take the next one after me because I just wanted to say thank you for your guys' contribution to the Star Trek community because when I was deployed to Iraq in 2005 from the Marine Corps, you guys actually kept me going. I only had like season 3 or 4 when I was deployed, but I want to say thank you to you guys because again, you helped keep me going with the dream that everybody here is for today. So thank you so very much.
Thank you for your service.
How come you guys never did a funny impression on like the camera?
How come we never did a funny impression on camera? They would fire us.
It's funny because I actually suggested that to the writers. I said, listen, why don't we have as a B storyline a Star Trek Voyager talent show with all the actors, with all the characters there, and Kim will go up there and do his impersonations. And they were like, no. So.
I always thought that we should have a Christmas show.
Ooh, that'd be nice.
Yeah, the nativity story.
Yeah.
A very special voyage.
Very special. 7 of 9 is Mary, you know. I'm Joseph. And Garrett's the baby Jesus. I can be the donkey.
He likes to be Rudolph, actually.
And I'm the ox and the ass.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, please join